Now I will discuss the broader context with you. These images depict the fundamental components of knee anatomy, which function much like detailed records of a voyage or an intricate roadmap for a journey. Just as you would observe the path and movements of a ship on its route, sailing through various stations forms a map, illustrating how a ship navigates these areas, much like a visual journey or roadmap. Through all these stations, and it forms a kind of figure. Do you notice these figures? This figure creates a structure in space. The same happens with a story. Stories aren't just linear time arrows, they have alterations. In film, the structure is defined by a character's journey to a distant point. Here is Lene, the N we just saw. The N, from his point of view, creates a kind of drawing, where, as the narrative develops and unfolds, this drawing fluctuates, resembling an electrocardiogram more than a steady arrow. To grasp the factors causing these changes, we turn to two key concepts from systems theory and biology. These principles help explain how the drawing structure evolves, providing insight into its dynamic nature. These principles help me grasp how a narrative system functions, and how this drawing shapes its structure. The first principle is the concept of noxa. A noxa refers to anything that influences a system, causing it to change. This understanding is crucial for analyzing the dynamic nature of narratives. If right now a small meteorite hit my PC, it would be an issue. Destroyed my computer, it would be a problem for me. And that would cause a radical change in the system called Julio's life. If a meteorite struck my head, it would cause an even more drastic transformation in my life. A noxa is anything that enters a system and alters it. If it enters a system and doesn't alter it, it's not a noxa. If it doesn't enter the system, it's not a noxa either. A noxa is any element that enters the system and alters it. And it alters it deeply. If I need to reach a dry place and I get caught in rain, that's a noxa. If the rain doesn't matter to me, it's not a noxa. Nox is then related to the system's reaction to it. Here we have the rain noxa, and the noxa usually causes a system change. In this case, an umbrella. Hence, a good representation of the noxa is the rain and the umbrella is the change. There's a direct relation between noxa and change that generates a dynamic of exchange. And of correlation, we have a nox called meteorite and a character who will be forever changed by its impacts. Sometimes the change is more violent than the noxa. For example, in this example, there's a cannon, a fly, and someone is trying to kill the fly with a cannon. That is an exaggeration of change concerning a small anoxia. Harmful influences have shaped our history, prompting us to change and evolve. We have a bird and a crawling organism. The bird pecks at the organism, and the harmful impact affects it. This interaction alters the system, and through this change, the system transforms. Over time, this system matures, forming a shell, and we end up with a turtle. This illustrates the relationship with the noxa, highlighting how harmful influences shape and transform systems. Of the system that changes and the fundamental change, a relevant internal change. Similarly, in disease dynamics, a virus or bacteria invades an organism, causing changes. The organism then develops defenses, eventually leading to recovery and restored health. There's a significant internal shift happening. The connection between the noxia system and transformation is constant. This involves noxa, system dynamics, and continuous change. The scenario becomes intricate as it includes a person navigating life while another battles a common cold. Sneezes and a virus reaches us. The virus acts as a noxa, making us ill, prompting our bodies to react and adapt. And we just need to take a cold remedy, which would be a secondary harm, prompting us to react and adapt, allowing us to feel healthier and avoid further illness or complications. Or more ill, or definitely any of these outcomes, health, convalescence, or death, would signify a significant internal change within the system, impacting the overall balance. Pay close attention to this system and this figure. A character appears here. You notice the nox, leading to a conflict, an anoxia, and then a resolution. An anoxia occurs, followed by a resolution. This pattern is familiar. It's the narrative structure of any story, involving conflict and resolution. Let's observe how this situation would actually unfold. For a pathogen like bacteria to invade an organism and cause illness, the host must be in a weakened state. It's necessary for the organism to be weakened. It has often happened to us that when being in a system, others get infected and one does not. Why? Because certain individuals possess stronger defenses against illnesses compared to others. This implies that people falling ill likely had an underlying pre-existing noxa, which highlights the importance of narrative systems being created due to inherent vulnerabilities within them. When a character encounters a pre-noxa, the system is compromised. The arrival of the first noxa alters it, and the second noxa further transforms and resolves it. This can be termed the definitive system, as it highlights the sequence of changes leading to resolution. Where a pre-noxa appears initially, altering the system, the border noxa I arrives first, followed by the closure noxa 2, and then the third act. We have 3 acts in total, featuring 2 noxias and 2 transformative changes. We've reached a nearly biological structure. A 3-act structure. Let's see now in the narrative system. We have a first act with a noxa 1 and a change, a second act that builds tension and develops characters, and a third act with a resolution. If we consider these acts generate a picture of a complete story arc, because as we talked about at the start of our lessons, we observe significant shifts in values among the characters. The noxias are responsible for both increasing and decreasing these changes within various characters. Notably, there are instances where a specific trait appears to rise or fall dramatically. Up, down, because there are many noxias, not just 2. There are hundreds of noxias impacting a system called story. In our lives, in just one day, we receive many noxias. We do well, we ascend, we falter, we descend. A positive call lifts us up once more. When things go awry, we plummet again. Disappointment from an unsatisfactory show further brings us down. Yet, another unexpected call catches us off guard, leaving us surprised. We rise. An erratic drawing emerges. With numerous scenes, many drawings appear. Observe the confusion in these drawings. Look closely at this chaotic scene. The first thing we need to do is clear these drawings and ensure that what interests us is the path of just one of these drawings, the path of the main N. Look, and here we have a path where the character was initially at the top, then suddenly an anoxia strikes and knocks them down. And then they begin their descent. Numerous noxias prompt them to continue falling. However, there is a brief moment of ascent before they plummet once more, until reaching a point of maximum disturbance where finally the noxia no longer has much strength, and the internal change within the character prevails, and eventually we'll have a system ascending to where they conclude. We observe this upside-down U-shape, a hallmark of 3-act systems known as gain. This pattern is evident as we analyze the structure and dynamics.